WorthWhile brand that I hope you understand. Work hard, play hard, get up, stack bands. Time to get up, then slap your hands. Chillin' in the club with all my friends. Living in the moment, hope it's never gonna end. Love a new beginning, but I skip to the end. I listen to the beat, I hope to ascend. I hope to cherish, and I hope to win.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. We have a little change up this time. The lighting's a little different. The rain came in. We had a cancellation. So guess who filled in? Aaron David Thomas. The man that is usually behind the camera is on the camera.
That's right, man.
I would say thanks for coming out, but
I was already here.
Yeah. So, wow, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
For one, talk about what you do. I mean, outside of like filming, obviously you filmed the podcast for me, and everyone like now knows this.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the thing?
Yeah. Well, you know that question that people ask, like, what do you do? Like, I've always had the hardest time with that. For a while, like I would tell people, I'm an expressionist, because I'm always trying to find a way to express myself.
Yeah.
But speaking about video and film specifically, man, I've always just enjoyed like every medium of art and expression, and got so much from getting things out. And anytime I find something valuable or interesting in human beings, in people or in the world and stories, I want to share it. So, filmmaking, video, and storytelling in that capacity is like one of the only ways to capture almost every other medium. Culinary you can't capture, and a few other things, but like most of them you can figure out a way to share the story.
When did you first pick up a camera?
That's a good question. Well, when I first picked up a camera, I probably didn't know what I was doing.
You're like, this is nice.
Funny enough, my dad, he was always getting into different businesses, and I remember shooting a couple of photos with this. Now this was like a long time ago, but he had a 3D camera. Like
Really?
It had like a bunch of different like lenses or like viewfinders things on it. I don't know how it works necessarily, but you had to print it on a special paper, and you held the photo when you were done, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was like kind of. But this was like a long time ago. He was always getting into these little niche things. He had started a business like in with those mall kiosks, like print. Whenever at first we were able to like take someone's photo and put it on like a coffee mug or a calendar or whatever. Remember that?
I've never even heard of a 3D camera concept like that.
Yeah.
I wonder why that isn't more of a thing.
It comes and goes.
Okay.
It's one of those things that's like, because it never was like super great.
Didn't like catch the society.
It didn't catch, like it was like a niche thing for a minute. It was kind of a fun little fad for a moment, and then gone again.
So outside of the 3D camera.
Okay.
What about intentional?
Yeah,
I like photography. Or was it photography or videography first?
I think so. When I got serious about it, it was video. Okay. So growing up, my grandparents had a television show. It was like a small town sort of Christian country thing. So it was called Texas Country Gospel. We were in Texas. That's where I lived.
It's a classic name for
it. Texas Country Gospel.
Yeah.
You know, when I was young, I was sort of embarrassed about it. I was like, this is pretty podunk. But now looking back, it's just like, oh, it's like very like nostalgic. Like they were like very down home, and just like they paid for it to have, and they believed in the ministry of it and what it was going to do. So they like poured their lives into it. And like, it was on Daystar whenever Daystar was just beginning. It was like Marcus and Joni Lamb had their set right here, and my grandparents was right there. And like, I remember like how empty it was. And then all of a sudden it started taking off. And then eventually they bought a television network, and my parents became the network directors of that, and I helped them move it from Pigeon Forge to Nashville. And during that time, I was going out, hanging out with people downtown, bands and stuff, meeting new, young artists and stuff. And some friends were like, so I had been exploring editing a little bit, just trying to get into it, and then sort of said, the camera, started to understand like lenses and lighting and whatnot, just sort of trying it out.
Yeah.
Dabbling. But I had like a knack. I could make something fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then some friends were like, they needed a music video, and they're like, hey, Aaron, you have some cameras around, right? You have some cameras? Like, yeah. I was like, we have $500, and we want to make a music video. And so we got creative. We all got together with a bunch of friends. It was a lot of fun. There was like several people like donating their time, and there was this other photographer who brought some gear. There was just a bunch of people who came together.
Collective,
Like it was like 25 or 30 of us at the end of
wow.
the day who were like in it or part of it or whatever, and it was a lot of fun. But after that $500 music video, my phone didn't stop ringing for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I started making music videos for everybody, like lots of independent stuff, independent artists, but then started doing like major label artist stuff, and then got some videos on CMT and was doing pretty well and stuff, and then started going on the road with artists, and yeah.
Did man, I just lost my. Oh, is that first music video? Is that still out somewhere?
Probably. Yeah, it was.
You still friends with the guys?
Actually, I haven't seen him in a while, but I probably Max Beiser.
It's a name.
Yeah, Max Beiser was his name, and I don't know the name of the song. I can't remember the name of the song, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever think then that it would transform into
No idea.
this
longevity? Because honestly, I mean, I did it because I was trying to be helpful, and I was like, I think I get how this works, and that's kind of what was the motive. It wasn't like I want to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I just wanted to help. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to share stories and help people get their ideas and their messages out there. But now I just love it, man. It really is so fun, and it's taken me to a lot of amazing places. My wife and I and our young girl, we traveled around America for a while, just like doing like sort of like the adventure life kind of thing.
What was the spark of that? I know we've talked about that briefly, but not the spark part, but the journey.
Yeah.
But what made y'all want to go on this?
Well, so I was starting to get really busy with video work, and my wife, we were buying this house. We had a lease purchase with this house, and I was starting to get really busy with work. I was about to start like a new business, going to partnership with someone. It was gonna get kicked up to a new level, and I was already gone a lot. So she was there at the house by herself a lot, and I was sort of starting to miss my young daughter. Important time stages there, and that was going on. But the other element is that, like, so I was an artist, if you want to call it that. I was expressionist.
Yeah.
Coming to Nashville, I was like, I'm not a guitarist, I'm not a singer, I'm not a songwriter, I can't claim I'm a pianist or any of these things, but I can express myself through all this stuff, right? So I was expressing myself, and Katie, my wife, she had a band and she was doing music. So we met here now, even though we're both from Texas, we met here in Nashville at 12th and Porter downtown, and we were both into music, but we started writing music together around this time, and we were just able to just play each other's music now. We were play together, we hadn't ever done that, and so we couldn't really play out much without getting, someone to watch our daughter or something. But then we started playing just with our friends in their living rooms.
Yeah.
And then it was like our daughter was running around having fun. Everyone was just chilling, and Katie saw some video or something of some family traveling around, and then we got someone dropped us some book about doing house concerts. Anyway, this crazy, these little sort of synchronistic little things started popping up saying, here's a potential path, that you could go on. You could be together a lot. You could play your music in houses, in homes, and you could travel around and see the world and go on an adventure together as a family, and instead of like waiting around to get discovered here in Nashville, is what it kind of felt like. And we played shows like at fairly large or mid-sized venues, like at Exit Inn and stuff. But like, you pay after paying the band, the bartender, the bouncer, and everything else. You walk out there with pennies. You know what I mean? Anyway, so we were like, maybe we should do this. And then there was some supernatural things that sort of like,
this is the way.
This is the way. And my daughter had lost our key. I'll make a long story short. She lost a key to our cars. We couldn't find our car key for like weeks, 2 weeks or something. Eventually, it was like, we started feeling like God was wanting to guide us through this journey, this like pilgrimage of sorts, right? And we had this metal detector, couldn't find it, and then my friend was like, hey, why don't you just pray? And I was like, yeah, because growing up, another part of my story is like I had a very spiritual awakening when I was young, and it was like hearing the voice of God, and was like, well, going where he wanted me to go, doing what he told me to do. Lots of crazy stuff was happening, and then experiences, things happen, and then like I sort of like fell out of that, But my wife hadn't had any of these experiences of going, okay, what? And then something answering. But he said, pray. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I said, and I closed my eyes, I said, where's the key? And it was like, right away, I was like, left, right, straight. I started hearing in my head. And then while I'm doing this, holding the metal detector, my wife says out loud, how can we expect God to guide us in life if he can't even lead us to a beep, 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 beep? Right, wow. Right while she says it, And I was like, boom, because I had stopped right then. And that moment, sort of just the culmination of all that stuff, she was like, this video is still out there, which was like, that's it. I don't know why she decided to cut her hair, but like it had something to do with freedom or whatever. She had really long hair at the time. And she said, that's it, I'm in. I'm gonna jump in and I'm not going back. That was the thing. She finally explained it to me. Cutting her hair, you can't go back from that, right? We just like grabbed it and right there. And we sort of jumped in at that moment. Like, let's do this. And we didn't know what we were doing, but we found a trailer at some point, started marketing that we were gonna do some house concerts, and eventually, we traveled all around the United States of America and partnered with a bunch of big sponsors and brands and stuff, and landed in California, met some other like filmmakers and documentary people and television show producers, and started making that kind of stuff with those people, and really, really conscious content. People who were like all about making media with a purpose.
This is just because I know you a little bit as well, but like, do you think there's a difference between becoming spiritually awakened and conscious, or do you think they're one and the same?
Between spiritually awakened and consciousness? Yeah. Well, let me
because the only way I
answer it.
I asked that because like the spiritual guidance happened, and then you went on to create conscious content. But
yeah. Well, I think there are lots of ways people use those words, isn't there? Yeah, sure. You can be. So consciousness, I think, that is like the easiest way for one to understand God. He said, I am that I am. Yeah. Right? And people say, oh, the whole universe is conscious. The particle and wave theory thing, it's like the actual molecules that make up the entire reality that we are seeing physically is aware of whether or not it's being looked at and perceived.
Yeah. Which is that whole test of like, I can't say it verbatim, but there's like, the energies and atoms moving, but like they move when you look at them. But if you're not looking at them, then they're present in their own spot. Like, I'm talking
particle
about
and wave. That's what. So it's the particle and wave. So when you're not observing it, it's a wave. Yeah. Like a frequency. Yeah. Or like a radio frequency floating through the air. Yeah. But whenever you look at it, you observe it, it becomes a point, an actual like particle. And okay. Fun fact. Here we go. Jump in. I love whenever we go into the world of the particle and wave stuff. I love combining that with the other tests that have been done to do with perception and intention. Right? There's the rice. Well, there are the rice resonance things, but there's this. I think there's a Dr. Moto did these tests on water, right, where he labeled the water. And
they spoke to
it, right? Yeah. Or even just place names over it, like fear, whatever, and he would or hate, whatever.
And think of those things.
Right. And you're like you're a piece of crap, and the other ones are like you're blessed, you're loved, or whatever. And he would label them. So the ones that you speak negative things to, freeze it under the thing. You put it under the microscope. It's all just sort of looking. Every one of the particles of water you freeze with the blessings and stuff, they're all beautiful ornate shapes, like snowflakes, just like beautiful. And there's other ones about rice, and it gets moldy, and you can speak to them and things of that nature. But what's interesting about that is that like what it says right there is that not only is the world, the physical world that surrounds each one of us, aware of whether or not you're perceiving it, but is affected by how you think and approach it. Right? Your intentions and assumptions about reality and like how you feel toward it. And so we truly are like, living in our own little universes.
those. I don't know how we got on that, to be honest.
I don't even know how they're.
I wanted to make a joke of the labeling the water thing,
Uh-huh.
where it's like you got like fear, like healthy, and they'd be like dirty. Like, oh, you are a little dirty water. And it's like you go under the microscope, like that's not what I want to see. How did we get on that? The whole spiritual and consciousness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
thing,
It was
like,
the consciousness thing, I think, initially. And consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness.
Oh, yeah. You were explaining.
And
what
so,
happened,
there's consciousness itself, and then being conscious of something, like just being aware of it, being conscious of it.
Like,
and,
there's a plant right there.
Right. Yeah. I'm conscious of this plant now that I've pointed it out. But there's also like intentional is another way that people use it. Like I'm going to make a conscious effort to whatever. Like I'm intentionally going to make this a positive impact on the world. But then there's also the third way, which is sort of like the enlightenment element. I think enlightenment, as far as the consciousness term is in the way they're used, is whenever you become aware of your own thoughts. So you become conscious
Of oneself.
and with and the thoughts and the things that are moving on in there.
All right. Fair.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's how it is. I'm
No,
saying that's
but
the way
yeah.
I'm
You
perceiving it.
perceive-
Yeah.
Well, tying it back to the journey, what were some of your favorite stops and most impactful on your pilgrimage?
Man, it was so hard. It was so hard, and I think I loved that because
Hard as in like
difficult.
Okay,
It was
yeah.
difficult at so many points, and it never really lightened up, man. It got harder as time went on. Eventually, we just stopped. But looking back, one of the biggest truths that we walked away with is that life is hard. But it's also extraordinarily beautiful and easy at times. You know what I mean? It was the same thing at the same time. Those memories and those experiences are worth every ounce of pain and difficulty. You know, what I started explaining it like this is that like it's similar to having a child. You know, it's very difficult, but it's totally worth it. Is if you want to have a mountaintop experience, you have to be willing to climb the mountain, right? And it's difficult. So people don't climb a mountain because it's easy.
Yeah.
And so whenever you begin to realize that in life, I feel like it's one of the keys to like really enjoying life and finally getting somewhere is to realize that failure and challenges and difficulties
Go hand in
are not your they're not your enemy. They're your friend. They're there to make you better. And once you start treasuring those things, you're really kind of unstoppable. Because like, you know, whatever it is that you set your mind to, whatever it is that you feel like you're supposed to be doing, which that's a whole other thing. What you're supposed to be doing, what you want, you know, what you want, and then your ego, and and then fulfillment. Which anyway, but yeah, man, that's did I finish that thought?
I believe so. Yeah. Pretty well. I mean, there was no specific like that was the best part of the trip because they were all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless there was a very specific.
Oh well, there was. I mean, some of them. One of my favorite moments. There was this theme that kept rising because we did these like little mini docs along our journey of like people and organizations that are making the world a better place. And one element that kept coming to the surface that made any of them successful was this one thing. It was one thing for all of them that made any of them successful. Community. Right? So having a healthy community and community efforts, community support and all that stuff is what makes anything successful, not just like monetarily, but like fulfillment wise. Successful, like ongoing, like the ecosystem can go on and exist and scale or whatever, you know, is having healthy communities. It's like it's the treasure, you know, that we're all kind of looking for. But when we were on the journey, we were, you know, it was just our small little family doing this whole journey. And then we did a couple of meetups with other Instagram families and things. But there was this one meetup we did coming down PCH. And
it's a beautiful road.
Yeah. And we met up with the Maronis. And
it's a beautiful name.
Yeah. So funny enough, his name is Gabriel. The husband, his name is Gabriel, which is now my son's name. Right?
Named after him?
It wasn't even like on purpose, but there was two people that like really were like very helpful on my journey and impactful. It was Gabriel and Sol. And then we were looking for names for my son. It was just kind of like, Kitty was like, I just like those names together, Gabriel, Soul. We were looking for names. It was like, can we? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, first of all, it would remind me of them, these amazing dudes, but also it's like it's its own thing. Gabriel Soul Thomas is my son. So Gabriel was one of the men, and Soul was one of the guys on my journey that was really very impactful. But yeah, we met with that family, and I remember it to this day, man. We pulled up. They had an Airstream, and we had an Airstream. We pulled our trucks up to this like state park on the beach. So we like pulled up like to the beach for the first time. Rolled down my window. He rolled down his window. We're like, "What's up, man?" And then it's like we unhitched the thing. We both threw our hair up in man buns, grabbed our longboards
at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really. And we're like, we're gonna go look for the restrooms for the girls. So we threw our longboards out, jumped on it, and started cruising down the boardwalk while the women were like starting to chat about things they just needed to talk about, and the kids were like, run up into the beach, and like all of a sudden, like I had a moment, and I was chilling with this dude, and we're like, "What's up?" And he was a musician too, and like, he was just like a real chill dude, and we were just like cruising, like, you know, having a good time. The women were having a good time. The kids were like doing their thing, and it was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "This is community. This is community. This is good." And so we just kind of teamed up and like started going down a little bit of more of the journey together, and then we landed in this little town called Ojai, and we ended up, because we were doing this trip with Airstream, the company at the time. We were like part of this. We had this campaign we put on with them, and we put together this huge event at this boutique Airstream hotel. It wasn't like Airstream didn't own it, but these people just decided to make a little boutique hotel out of Airstreams. You know, it was called Caravan Outpost, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." It was a beautiful little town, a little retreat town up in the mountains, and it was just like,
what is this?
Like I was on a whole nother, by this time, I mean, I felt like we had made it. Like it felt like, is this Earth anymore? Like the temperature, the beauty, the people, the community. I mean, I remember it was like, we were in another realm, and we put together this huge event. I had some people that I knew from LA who were doing events already. So like we teamed up with their crew, and like a bunch of people came down, and we just like put on this amazing concert. And it was just like love, and it was just like music, and here we are together, and we filmed it and shot everything. It was just like, I was on another planet, man. And so that little like stint right there was just like, was sort of the fulfillment of like the seed of the idea that we were kind of like after from the very beginning.
Yeah. And you guys stayed in Ojai, right?
So we went the rest of that journey there, but my friends, the Maronis, they ended up staying there. They stayed there. So later, like a year later, we were going on another journey, and we came through there again, and we're like, let's get off the road for a month. This is beautiful. It was just like, oh, this is life. And so we're like, let's get off the road for a month, and 2 years later, we had been renting a house like downtown, like walking distance to this downtown strip there, which is a small little cute little town. It was just a little slice of heaven for a while. But it had a very specific thing it was doing to us. We didn't even realize at the time. But when we finally left, I mean, it was time, and we just really we felt led to Colombia. Colombia was just like, it sort of like called us from there. And
what specifically? Like you'd been here before?
We had a friend of mine had been living here for a while, and had shown us the place once. Whenever Muletown Coffee first went in, he was like, "Hey, there's a cool coffee shop down here now. You guys should come check it out. You should see it." And he's like, "This place is gonna happen. He's gonna look at it, like a coffee shop. It's gonna happen." And I was like, "I believe you, man." But I don't know what put the bug in my ear to like check out. We were looking for houses. We're like, should we live here now in Ojai? But like a tiny 1-bedroom house with thing was like $800,000, and we're like, Yeah. We saw a place for sale on 6th Street. We're like, look what we can get in Ojai, or I mean in Colombia. And Ojai was like 45 minutes outside of LA, and Columbia was about 45 minutes outside of Nashville. And there was something about it, the structure of the city and stuff, that kind of reminded us of like, we could like go there and like intentionally build community and be a part of like making that the future, whatever it's going to be, and making it a good place for humans to be. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, we just got here and we started exploring, and I met some other men. Community started happening right away. Got some work, got some things lined up.
It's ironic that just knowing that Muletown Coffee was like a symbol for that. And like, have a good one.
Yeah.
But that's like after we had met. That's where we briefly met here next door. But then our first ever meeting was at Muletown Coffee.
Yeah. Well, that's see, but again, what is it about coffee shops, man? It breeds community,
it's its own
right?
culture.
Right,
It's
culture.
yeah.
Because people gather
Yeah.
there, places of
Intentionally gather there.
Right.
Because like my friend Chase, who was on here this morning, like there's a time frame where I was a huge coffee shop person. Like I work better at a coffee shop. Like you're away from the house, like you got your laptop, like everyone's there working. Like that was like a newfound outlet for me. And I was doing that for like years. And then like he didn't even like coffee. And I was like, I go to coffee shops all the time. And he's like, I don't even like coffee. I'm like, there's something you will like if you would just like come try it. And like his first time meeting me at one, he was like, everyone's working here. And he's like, I like this vibe. And now we went on like a year and a half of like 4 times a week we met. We just call it culture. He's like, you trying to culture today?
Oh, that's
like,
cool, man.
Let's go culture. But
that's cool.
there is a whole, do you think that's what it is? Intentional?
I think it's community. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we're all so hungry for being with people and doing life together. You know, I think we're built for that. You know, I think we're just that's what's ingrained in us. But let's switch it up and talk about you a little bit, man. I've been very I've told several people, like I've just been very impressed with your commitment. You know what I mean? And your diligence and your really bravery and just like, jumps of faith and just like doing it, the doing itness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been amazing. So like I remember you had that, speaking of that meeting, it was like, hey, you do video stuff. I was thinking about doing a podcast, and I was like, well, we started talking about stuff. And I was like, seems like good subject matter, good things, And I kind of said, you said like, you were looking for information. You were like, how does this work? And it was like, well, you this, and this. And you were like, okay. And you came back, you're like, I did that. I'm like, oh, well, typically, da-da-da-da. And you're like, okay. And you're like, I made it. I'm like, all right. I was like, well, this, and you're like, check. And I was like, all right.
I mean, literally an example of that's like, what was it, yesterday?
Uh-huh.
I was here, we were going over stuff, what was going to happen. I'm like, I don't have two guests for tomorrow. But I was like, I'll figure it out. It'll happen later.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a really, not everyone can do it. I'm finding this out too. The people are different. There's so many different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And none of us, here I have a saying I say, none of us can do what all of us can do, right? And there's a Bible verse that says, the hand cannot say to the eye, I have no need of thee. And the idea is that we all have a different talent, a different role we can play. But the ability to flow like that and just sort of like ride the wave of like trust,
It's definitely a developed thing, if that's what, is that what you're asking? Is like, where'd that come from?
No, sure. Where did it come? Did you develop it?
Let me think about that.
Or is it something that you just sort of like?
Going with the flow aspect, definitely I feel like was a development thing.
Well, yeah, I guess you would have to. So like, there's like a natural thing that you're sort of naturally inclined to do, but then there's also, you do it a lot. You develop it more specifically. I can see that.
See, you would like this spin on it. I touched on it with the podcast earlier, how like, I went through that breakup time frame, and it really put me down a path of like questioning like what I'm supposed to, like, what am I doing? I'm pushing a brand. It's about being yourself, like all that. Right, actually, let me take it back before that. Well, it started in 2015, so that happened, and like, it was just an idea and just spreading like self-worth to people. But like, of course, I was like, what does that mean? And that spread me down. Like, I started reading like self-help books and stuff like that, just to understand what I was trying to push to people. But it clicked instantly. Like when I seen the logo, my friend Benji, and we went to the house and it was there. Like it just like.
Yeah. What would you call that? Like that flash.
So I was searching before that because I had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was working. The lineup is that I worked at Kroger. It was my first job, and my work ethic is, I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I have a phenomenal work ethic. Like, if you tell me to do something or there's a task, I'm going to do it. So, like, I became one of the best baggers there. I went to the bagging competitions. Like, cool. I became a cashier. Cool. I was floor supervisor at 17. I was supposed to be one until you're 18. So I was 17, like, managing, like, six to, like, 10 people on a shift. And I would sacrifice my lunch breaks so other people would go on breaks, stuff like that. Like, and at that point, I was going to college to get a business degree so that I could be a manager. And actually, like by 21, but I can be a manager at Kroger. Cool, because that's all I knew. That's the only job I had. Graduation happens. People are going to school. People are doing military. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. This is what's happening. And like, I'm like, well, this is Kroger. So that's why I made the decision to go to school, blah, blah, blah. And then I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it's ironic because my granddad has always been like, you need to read this book. You should read this book. And it was, as your younger self, you're like, oh, yeah, I know. Like, oh, I'll read it, but you never do. And then you fast forward a year and a half, 2 years, my best friend Jamie, I went to his house and he was like, man, you should check this book out. And it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, It was like, the fact you're showing me this. But I remember specifically there's this passage in it that like, it just clicked. And I was like, I don't want to just like work here my entire, like, that's where my aim is going right now. So the only way you can stop that is to stop it. So I was like, I need to quit. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that because of my work ethic at Kroger, I'm like, I could do whatever I want to do. Like, it doesn't matter. I just have to choose what I want to do. And it came full circle, actually, now that I really think about it, because like, I was fired up. I left Kroger. I was working cleaning bathrooms with my parents with their house cleaning company. And I was just listening to podcasts and I was just like, oh, I'm just going to make money doing this and kind of live. And that happened for like 3 months. And then I was on a trip with my friend Benji, Spencer, and Ethan. And like, I was fired up. I'm like, I want to do something. Like, I have the potential to do something. We should do something. And we were just spitting the idea back and forth about a clothing brand. And then like, a couple weeks go by, I go to Benji's house and he had the logo. And he was like, WorthWhile, what do you think about this? And that's what I mean. It just clicked. So I was kind of searching for something, and then it presented itself, and I was like, that's it. I just knew. I don't know. I guess I just knew. Yeah. But
so were you conscious in the way that we were talking now? Like, were you already sort of aware that there was something else at play that was where the inspiration was coming from?
No.
Or any of that? Okay.
No. That was just, that's what's funny though, is because it's called WorthWhile, and it stems from, self-worth. But like, I had to then, like, what does that mean to me? Like, I love the idea. I feel like everybody is worthwhile. Like, we should do this brand. We should grow this brand. But like, outside of like, the collective, as us three all hanging out and like working on it, I was really like, what does this really mean? And I started like reading. I read the book Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and like, they resonated with me because like I was doing some of the things that they were talking about without knowing what the concept of those things were. And then I realized it's up here. Your mind's a muscle, and your thoughts control what you do. And then it just turned into like, wait, everybody can do this. We all have a brain. We all can control our thoughts and choice. And that's what I was talking about earlier. It comes down to choice. Yeah. So like, it from that point really turned in for me to like letting people know, like, it's not about selling you something. It's like everybody has this potential in them, and that potential is unique for each individual, but not everybody realizes they have the choice.
What is it that what is the realization? Like, I guess that's sort of, I feel like I'm trying to grab to you. Like, what is that moment that you were like, wait, I have other options? Like, or.
What do you mean? Like,
I felt, it seemed like whenever when you read the book, all of a sudden, like, a light bulb went off, right? Like, you were empowered with the idea that you could do something could change. You could try something else. But, well, like, what is that?
Talking about like the leaving Kroger time frame? Or like,
no, just the idea that you have choices, that you're conscious, and you now, the empowerment, right, that comes from some knowledge that you didn't have before. All of a sudden becoming aware that, hey, I'm equipped in some new way to make a change or do some new path or try something. You were, like you said, you were ready to do something. You were asking your friends, like, what made you feel ready to do something? Was it the knowledge?
I think not necessarily the knowledge. I think it was the opportunity. Like, we have the opportunity to do something. Like, it's here, but it's your choice if you want to fulfill that opportunity or not. And like, that's what was, like, I remember once I realized that the concept of like, I could do anything, like whether it's bagging groceries or, I don't know, like I used to really love skateboarding. Like, I thought this is literally my thought processes then, processes, I don't know what you would say, but I was like, I could skateboard every single day for 5 years and I'll be good. Or I could do X, Y, or Z and like eventually, whatever I chose to do, it would eventually evolve into a master skill at it. And there's that whole thing of like, 10,000 hours of like a certain thing before you master it type of concept. But like that, now looking back at the whole like, oh, anybody can do this. It's like, I've like really just tried to figure out how to be the best version of myself. I'm not like focusing on growing this business and like I'm gonna make $10,000 this year. I'm literally figuring out every single day how to become a better version of myself, and in turn that radiates, I guess. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that part out. If that answers your question.
I think so. I mean, it is that. I have another question, to sort of, I think that might tie it together. Is like, you're on this journey and you're starting to go for this thing. This branding pops up, and that you feel some sort of value in it. I'm guessing at this point it isn't all conscious yet.
Yeah.
You're not aware of really the depth of everything. When was it that you started to become aware
of the
or
journey?
awake, or aware that like there are some other elements at play, meaning, purpose, destiny, whatever you want to call it?
Supernatural moment in a sense. I've told you this before, like when I broke my arm, where I broke it, how I broke it, I was like, this sucks, but I don't understand why I broke it. I question why a lot, and like, why did this happen? I already did that. And I've gone to like religious aspect of stuff. Like, I'd never went to church in my family. I grew up not necessarily a specific religion. My parents were like, there's a God, do good, you'll go to heaven. So like that, you know, like I said, I've never gone to church in my family. Like that's a rare thing that like people are like, oh, what? You never do that. But like breaking my arm, I was like at home all the time, and I was, you know, everybody was working, and I was just by myself, and I started like researching, like it was honestly like conspiracy videos and stuff. There's a lot of dots that started connecting. I started looking into like Nikola Tesla, meditation and stuff like that. And like I said, I knew that there was a reason why I broke my arm. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it happened for a reason. And once I was able to start using it again, this is wild, but this is actually really wild.
No, please.
No, but like, so I have a very wild theory that I've been developing for like years, which I don't know how deep I want to go into that because not many people even know about it.
Sure.
But I felt like, okay, I'm just going to say it briefly. Like, I had an idea of like the pyramids are a power source.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, it's in the Middle East. All these wars and stuff are going on in the Middle East, and they say it's for terrorism and stuff like this, and oil and stuff like that. But I'm like, what if there's a bigger picture happening and they really know what's going on? And like, I worked at the radio station when I broke my arm, and the guy that was my boss there, you know, I never had anybody really, I guess, give me their testimony, but he gave me his testimony on how, like, in the way he told me his testimony and like how things happened.
Right.
Because at that point, like, I just got that relationship. I was broke. My best friend was joining the military. I was living by myself. Like, I couldn't work at the restaurant that I was working at, and the world was falling apart. And he was like, "It's happening for a reason," and like he explained why it happened for him in that way. That led me to want to go to church and like start looking into like that aspect. And then I started looking into, you know, frequencies and how frequencies affect your mind. And then we'd be at church and like, you know, everything was great. The message was received. Everything was awesome. It's time to pray and close out. And then somebody would come out and start playing the piano and playing the same harmonic tones and noises that I was listening to that make your subconscious mind feel good. And then you open your eyes and it's time to pay. And I was like, I don't know, this doesn't seem right in a way. And it wasn't anything against religion, but it was the concept of how it was being delivered. So like I went on this like path of that, but the guy that gave me his testimony, and I don't know the theory of like where, I haven't like checked his knowledge of it, and I couldn't give you the specific numbers, but he was like, I think we're living in the beginning of the end times. And that he said that like the prophecies are starting to be fulfilled. And his theory, or like I said, I didn't fact check it, and this is years ago, but like it said when Jerusalem becomes a nation again, that generation will see Christ return. And he was like, theoretically, that generation was 100 years, and it was like 1942 or something like that it came back. When Jerusalem became a nation again. I could look it up right now.
We should.
That could be like the Joe
we get someone on that?
Yeah. Like, can we put a projector up here? Hold on. Like,
No, yeah, I'm thinking, we could just cut this right out. You just happen to know it. You could just act like you know the specific date.
No, not when it first became a nation. 1948.
1948.
Yes. And like I said, this is the part where I didn't fact check, but he said like a generation in biblical terms was 100 years. I don't know how factual that is. But this is, like I said, this is me being at the time frame of everything's like, like this makes a lot of sense. But like 100 years from 1948 would be 2048, which is relatively close to where we're at right now. And then I really started thinking, and I'm like, all this war and stuff going on, and I'm like, the world really, and people say the world's going to shit. Like it's going, like all this bad stuff's happening. And I was like, what if like that going to shit timeline is also paired with this timeline of like understanding? And like just my thought process at the time was like, Nikola Tesla was talking about how pyramids are a power source. And I was like, well, what if like Egyptians didn't build them, but they were there because they knew that they were divinely made, and they were worshiping the pyramid because they knew it was divinely made in a sense. And I was like, there's a wild theory. This is like literally a theory. I was like, in my head then I was trying to put together, but I was like, what if they're a power source, and like our enlightenment as like one consciousness of people is to like discover how this represents like your temple, yourself, like consciousness, whatever. But like, what if we turn this pyramid on and that's the end of the world? And it's not like an explosion, but like,
no,
it's
I hear
like,
what you're saying.
but that was like what was going through the thought process.
That's the big power button or something. It's like,
so what's wild though is that like, this was all thoughts that are happening. This is in between like coming out of my arm being broken, stuff like that. And the first shirt that I printed after this, it looks like the world blowing up with it coming right to like where the Middle East would be with WorthWhile across it. And I did not plan to print a shirt. I can pull the picture up right now. Like
we'll put it up on the screen.
And outside of that, I broke my arm wearing the shirt for the Tennessee Children's Home that I had them, but the kid drew it, and it's a hand over the earth that says "lead" on the bracelet. So I was like, am I supposed to like lead people to know their self-worth before the world ends?
Whoa.
And
so this is all coming at you at once. Like the big revelation is like, okay.
And the scene that gets into the supernatural like signs and stuff.
Yeah, I did.
Brett Glover.
Yeah.
He gave me shirts that were Tommy Hilfiger shirts that like I ended up printing on and like selling them and like cool, but like he gave them to me. And the giving aspect of it was like, that was imprinted in me like during this depressive time frame. Like I went out in my parents' front yard, I was meditating and like trying to figure out like why is all this happening? And for whatever reason, like that thought of like him giving me something like went to me, and I was like, I don't want to sell like clothes to people. Like I feel like everybody should have a worthwhile shirt. Like you shouldn't have to buy this shirt to know that you're worthwhile. And like I was about to go sell 3 shirts to this family and like the kids and whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna give them to them. So I went over there and like I was like going through this breakdown moment, and I was like, this is what just happened to me, and I don't want you guys to pay for these. I want you to have them. Fast forward.
This is good. Hey man, this is breaking it out.
Fast forward, like that giving aspect, that whole thing happened, and all this connections and of trying to figure out stuff. I'm like, am I supposed to save people? Like I don't understand all this stuff. Never read the Bible at this point. I mean, I've heard phrases and stuff like that, and Brett puts Bible verses on his tags for all of his clothing.
Right.
And one of them was in my door, like where you pull your door shut. And I never looked at it, never paid any attention to it. But one day I came out to my car and it was sitting on the ground next to my car. Overnight, it stayed there, I guess. I don't know. But I picked it up, put it back, and I was like, that's weird. And then I was like, oh, there's a Bible verse on that. And it's Revelations 21:5. And it says, behold, he is in the throne, says, I am making all things new. Write this down because these words are trustworthy and true. And I was like, whoa, like Revelation's about end times. Like I'm seeing all this stuff about end times. Like, what does this mean? So I went and read the entire book of Revelations. And I was like, I feel like there's some sort of secret in it to be discovered.
Yeah. That's funny to me. I mean, no, it's not. Well, it's sort of funny. Yeah. It's like, you haven't read much of anything thus far, right? And then the first thing you jump into is Revelation. That's like what you do with this.
Yeah.
So I love that this is like your sort of like entryway into the Bible. And you're like, let's read Revelation.
Yeah. So like that, like I said, there was just all these random signs of like pointing towards this. And I'm like, what does this mean? Broke my arm. And all this started when I broke my arm. Like it all started from there, me wearing a shirt that says lead. And that was made through giving shirts and providing opportunity for these kids to print these shirts and like bring their art to life. And it was really mind blowing. But honestly, I got to the point where I was like, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, nobody's gonna like, this is like, if I tried to talk, even
here's the way I say that. You're going out of your mind and into your spirit.
That's deep.
Yeah, man. Because it doesn't make sense.
No.
Life doesn't make sense. Consciousness doesn't make sense.
We can't.
We're on a ball spinning around, flying through space. Things orbiting around us, perfectly in sync. Stars don't move,
and we're sitting here having this
like
conversation.
North Star is like, what is this? And the molecules, and there's more. We're more not here than we are here with the rate that they're frequencing in and out. And like, I don't know.
I keep going. I want to find this shirt while I'm like,
this world
before I forget.
Doesn't make sense. The dimensions of it, spiritual things. The Bible, Jesus. Nothing really makes sense because, I mean, what is this? What is this? We're like a vapor of smoke here. We're like awake in a dream trying to like grab parts of the dream world going, oh, let's see, I'm going to get down to the bottom of this with a microscope. You know what I mean? It's like, what is it?
Yeah, but even if you get to that answer, it comes full circle back to like, you're just going to be. Yeah. That's all you can really do is be and spread positivity, light, love. Here. I thought I found it. Hold on. It's really close around here. I swear I broke my arm.
What's our time so far?
46 minutes.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going over. Okay, so let me see this. And so, did you mean to put like that pyramid there?
No. Pyramid?
Yeah. It's the top of the pyramid right there.
Oh, wow. No, I did not.
It's at the top of the pyramid.
Huh. Wow.
That's on the very peak of the pyramid. Yeah. The explosion is happening on the peak of the pyramid.
Wow. So, anyway, like I said, I didn't plan to. I mean, literally, this is what it looked like before. Like, that's not what I planned to do.
Right. Oh, like, yeah. Whoa.
Like, how did that come out to be?
Yeah.
That after all this is happening at the same exact time, and this is the shirt that I
again, it's like that projection stuff. Time of like we're projecting our own. There's an organization called the Heart Math Institute, and they have these tests they do, and it appears that we have a 8-foot like ball basically of energy around us. It's a electromagnetic field that we're projecting all from our energy centers. What is like? Oh, this is
That's the shirt I was wearing when I broke my arm.
Interesting, man. Interesting.
So like, it was a very wild time frame of like what is happening and like
what is happening.
I started like saying, and like also not to like sound egotistic at all, but like while I'm bartending and serving and stuff, like I've noticed that people gravitate towards me. Not like me like trying to make that happen, but I guess like you're saying, that electromagnetic like field that we put off, like I'm a positive person, like I want to spread this message of positivity, so I guess that gravitates towards that. But like on top of all this stuff, I'm like, what is happening right now? Like why? And then I went through the whole phase of like, why me? Like why am I supposed to be the one that understands all this stuff and I'm supposed to push this brand? And honestly put that entire theory away for like 4 years. And like I don't want to get into this part right now, but it re-emerged like December of this past year. And there's just literally, I was watching this video and like something happened. I was sitting there with my friend and like literally I was like, it's right there. I was like, it's right there. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, okay. I was like, I have to explain something. Yeah. And I explained to him what I just, but in more detail of like timeline on how it happened. And like, he understood everything that I was saying to him. Yeah. So like, I was like, okay, this is weird. And then like this whole spiritual moment happened with us. And it was like, we felt like the light was just like showering us with knowledge.
Yeah. Those moments I am very thankful for like, Logan's talking about like being young and growing up and having these experiences. And I don't know. I think a large number of people have had the unexplainable experiences that they haven't shared, or or maybe I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't really had. I know people, because there's different kinds of people who maybe are or aren't open to it, or can perceive those kinds of things, or something. But there's a lot of people I think that do have them and don't know what to do with them because they don't make sense. It's like waking up from a dream.
Yeah.
And your dream doesn't make sense when you wake up. In it, you're like, yeah, this is life. This is what happens. This is normal. I'm flying. What
are your thoughts on the dream world? Or go ahead, though.
No. Here's my thoughts on the dream world. I think the spiritual dimensions of reality have a different language. In the same way that we as three-dimensional beings can't hardly perceive fifth-dimensional entities or ideas or realities.
Like what we were talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
In the same way, the way communication is done in those dimensions can be perceived or seen or explained or showcased in dreams.
Yeah.
Because dreams do have an impact when we remember them, or even when we don't, on our life and our decisions. In the same way that these crazy mystical experiences that are happening to you, that sit, they're like, there's like, the world's going to end.
Yeah.
You need to save the world. Like there's an energy in you, there's information that can come through you that's going to benefit the world. You got to get busy doing that. So but it's to do with all these crazy streams of whatever you're tuning into, but the information's coming in for one purpose, because the actual impact and the actual effect that it's having on you, whatever way the information came to you, the output is going to be you deciding, you know what? We have a limited amount of time. Life, we all die. And I want to have a positive impact. That's the outcome of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it doesn't really need to make sense.
No.
As long as it impresses on your unconscious. Because like there's studies, all kinds of studies done, that we don't make choices with our mind. We don't think the choices through. We feel the choice. And then our mind explains how the choice that we've already made.
Or overthinks it.
Yeah, right. It overthinks it, but a lot of the times it could be fear that's motivated, or hope, or faith, or whatever. But like we make a decision with feelings and like an internal unction or whatever. Intuition. Whether sometimes we're acting on fear, which you could lead us into the decisions that probably aren't the right ones. I would say sometimes there's a lion coming after you, he's going to eat you. Go! Yeah. I'm going to run. But the decision's made before you think it through.
You're already acting as you're like.
And your brain explains the thing. You think you're making the decision, but it's
like when someone scares you, you punch. It's like you didn't think I'm going to punch because I'm scared. You punched naturally.
Right. And so that's an unconscious state of your being. So that's the part that's being impacted by these dreams or supernatural type experiences and communications. And it doesn't need to make sense to everyone else. The idea is, what has it done to you, and how are you playing it out? And look what you're doing, man.
Fair. Did that answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah. But it's pretty wild.
It is wild.
And it's almost like also like tying it back to like never going to church and like growing up with this outside perspective of everything, and like having my own like thoughts of everything and still believing in like the thing. Like I was like, I'm supposed to like save people without necessarily saving. Like I'm not like, you need to be X, Y, or Z. Like you need to be yourself and like enlightened in yourself. And like I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, I don't know.
It's this. We're going to do one more step up the ladder to the idea of frequencies, right, and dimensions and possible ways, right. So, I think, and that's it's gonna be hard to say it this way because I said I think, but it appears to me, I feel as if, and the information I've gathered seems to tell the story that
I'm being narrated that.
Our thought, we can think about what we're going to say next, but who controls what we think next? Thoughts.
That right there, I feel like is the God in us, the inner Christ, or the universe, or infinite knowledge, or whatever you want to call it.
Or Lucifer. You know what I'm saying? Because we have negative thoughts, right? So
there's as much equal negative as there is positive.
Right. And so, you're about to make me drop my grand conspiracy theory. I have one big conspiracy theory. It's like, I call it my big conspiracy theory. You want to hear it? I'm going to pause where I'm at.
What?
My conspiracy theory. Like,
What do you mean pause where you're at?
I'll pause, like, because I was going down this trail about.
Here, there's a thing that, like, I was actually been doing on these podcasts. If you cross your fingers as that is
Oh,
your
okay.
thought, when you were like, why are my fingers crossed?
Okay.
You'll be like,
Okay, hold on. First, I got to find where I was. So, what was I
I'll
going to
hold my
say?
fingers for
so,
you.
Okay,
You were
so,
talking about level up of consciousness.
okay, level of consciousness. It was going to be about thoughts. Okay, which had to do with frequencies, had to do radio station.
Yeah.
You just tell me radio station.
Yeah.
We're a radio.
I said that?
No, you just tell me that whenever we want to get back to this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I'll tell you my conspiracy theory.
Okay, I feel like I might understand this already
You may.
because I've referenced life and consciousness to the stream of a radio frequency before.
Oh well, we'll come back to that one
Okay.
and we'll agree. Okay, we're gonna get to it.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like there's no like
Yeah.
UFOs or aliens involved or
Yeah,
anything,
yeah.
but it's or secret societies really. Well, there kind of is. But the point is this: it's very simple. I think it's simple. All of life's experiences, okay, are happening. There's almost a dualistic reality, right? Like you've seen people talk about like a cell, like a single cell, and it like splits into two, right? There's like the new heaven and new earth. The idea that things are going to be transformed. We're talking about choice, right? Every choice we make is voting for one of two realities. And I
Heaven
go
or hell.
Heaven or hell, like on earth, like
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
like in your
100%,
experience of reality, heaven or earth, because all that we've ever experienced has been through the eyes and the perception of the one thing that has stayed the same and has never changed. I am, right? We've all, since we were a child to now, been perceiving the world through this one lens of I am, and that's never changed. We still feel like the same thing, even though we've learned all kinds of stuff and changed, and things have happened to us or whatever, and we're physically different, don't look anything like we did when we were a child, and are given over to all kinds of new habits and whatever, but we're still the exact same consciousness. We're just here, we're aware, right? So we have that, but put before us are these thoughts, okay, and these options, opportunities for a world that you're going to vote for or manifest into your reality, right? Okay, so Jesus Christ, the story goes, the Holy Ghost came upon him and he was led up to be tempted, all right? And this place of the temptation, one of the things, and it's the same stuff over and over, is Lucifer showed him all the wonders of the world and all the riches and things like that. He said, "You bow down and serve me, and I'll give all of this to you." Right? And so I see that and I go, okay, I think it was something we can actually experience, and it wasn't like a dude standing next to him going, "Hey, bow down and serve me," this dude with horns. No, it was me, the self. We all have this dualistic reality, okay, of the our self, okay, the thing that was cast out of heaven because I want to be God, right? And it was cast out because it's like, I want to make the rules. I want to do the thing. I want to do my life and have my way that I think is right. That's like the ego.
Yeah.
What the Bible calls the flesh, the lust of the eyes, lust of flesh, and pride of life. Like, it's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to do it. I'm going to rule. I'm going to reign. So we have that, and then we have the Christ-like nature, which is selfless, right? Not my will, but thy will be done. Submitting, right? Lean not on your own understanding, but acknowledge him in all your ways, and he shall direct your path, right? To submit to the Father's will, to the fulfillment of what you're created for. Jesus was the great example, even unto death, in that his destiny, right? The fulfillment of his will was to be the lamb slain before the foundation of the world. Thank God we don't all have to die and be, but what happens is this. Well, a great example biblically is like the story of Pilate. Whenever he offered people, he said, who do you guys want me to release to you into the world? There was an opportunity whenever Jesus was about to be crucified. He had Barabbas and he had Jesus. And it's us. We are the Pilate of our own life. The I am is Pilate, okay? and we have a choice to make. The choice is this. Who do you want, world, from me? This man completely given over to the flesh, a murderer, rapist, dude, nut case who's completely given over to the flesh? or this man completely given over to the Spirit. And they said, give us the man out of the flesh. You know what I mean? Give us Barabbas. Let's set him free. And what do we do typically? I mean, I think a lot of human beings, we go, I don't actually want to make a decision, because we know if we choose the flesh, we're going to piss some people off.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Spirit, because the Spirit offends people, because it stands up and it says the truth, and it says this is actually what's going on, and this is it knows what's truly right,
Yeah.
and people don't want to hear it if they're in their flesh and they're being led by it, because they're feeling convicted, or like you're blaming me, or like that's hate speech or whatever. You're making me feel bad, and that's bad now, So they were asking for that. So the point is, he didn't make a decision. He said, I wipe my hands with this, you guys do it. And that's what we typically do. We don't make a decision. And not making a choice is a choice. Mm-hmm. And what will always happen, 9 times out of 10, is you will give the world whatever they're at. You don't stand for something, you fall for anything. You've heard that, right? Okay, so we're almost there.
No, yeah, I'm following.
Okay, and so in us all, this is the awakening thing. Once you become conscious, aware of the reality that you are being presented, okay, with an opportunity, with every decision, to vote for one of two realities that you're going to exist in, right? So the flesh, I think, will die, right? But the Spirit is eternal.
And you can choose.
You can choose, right, what you want to be part of. Now, I believe the Spirit is eternal, because that's the part of God that's Him. It's His thing. And so I don't understand the fullness of it, but the idea is that, so you have the seat of consciousness, which people sometimes call the pineal gland, or there's this seat of consciousness, the third eye, whatever. You can call it whatever you want, but there's this part of you, right? And in the idea of self-realization is you have to put the I am. You have to have your identity on one of these two versions of yourself, right? And so it's either I am, which is like you're declaring God on the throne of either your flesh or your spirit. And so what happens is
both are fighting for you.
Both are fighting. Yeah. And here's where it gets real fun. It actually ties into the radio thing. So here we go. Boom. Okay.
Still crossed over
here. Here we go. When you're leaning on one of the two things, like you're leaning toward the selfless, or you're leaning toward the flesh, it changes the frequency of your body. Like the resonance thing we're talking about, everything in the world is resonating at a specific frequency. Yeah. And like a radio dial, you can change the frequency to a different channel. And also in your reality is classical music. That's the world I live in. It's classical music. I hear it. But it doesn't mean that all those other dimensions of reality, all those other channels aren't all around you. They're here in the same place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could be listening to different places. We have headphones on. We can live in different worlds if we're like listening to the different thing.
Yeah.
You could be thinking about something completely different and have a completely different experience of the same moment with me.
Depending on where your knob is.
Right. Yeah. So when you're tuned into the selfless part of our nature, right, the Spirit, you begin to hear those thoughts, and you begin to think of those ideas, and go to the places that those things are made for and are good to, and run into those people, and conspire to do the kind of stuff that it's asking you to do. Because Jesus said, pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So there's already a plan. There's already an idea. There's already a way things ought to be. There's like, let's get there. And so like the information within a seed that tells it what it's going to be, somehow there's information in frequencies like radio, like a freaking wave floating through space, an antenna to an antenna, all of a sudden music comes out of your thing. Weird. How is that information being kept in there? Same thing's flying through space in thought form, right? So you can tune into these ideas, right? And those things will lead you places if you listen to them and go those places. If you continue to tune in, you'll begin to manifest that world, that reality, that community, and live in that kind of dimension, right? Yeah. Similarly, on the other side, if you're listening to the selfish, you're going to think those thoughts, have those kind of ideas, go to those places, meet with those kinds of people, conspire to do those kinds of things to take over the world, because really the one that's saying, I have to lead the world and I have to lead them before people die, is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You know, it's Jesus Christ, and the other one is Lucifer, right? I want to be God, and Jesus going, no, let's submit to my Father. Let's submit to what I was created to be. Christ in you, the hope of glory, is for one to submit to what they were created to be. and allowing the hardships of life and everything to hit you, and for it to, manifest the beauty and the true glory and riches that life has to offer. It's like, again, going back to some things just don't make sense in this dimension, right? One of the most, doesn't make any sense. One of the most celebrated and like, we did it days in heaven in the spiritual dimension. It's like, yes, success is when in this dimension, an innocent man was murdered. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Victory happened that day. And it's like, what did we see?
Yeah, it's two different perspectives.
Right. How could this be happening to me? I mean, what would we do in that situation? How could this be happening? Oh my God, I thought God liked me.
Yeah.
I thought I was one with God. People are they're killing me. I'm dead. That sucks.
Yeah.
But no, it was like, we did it.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty weird. It doesn't make any sense.
I wonder, like, I don't know. For one, I feel like people, if this is released, like, it's gonna be like, what the? But like, just going back, because like that reference of like, Jesus being tempted is out of the book of Matthew, and like that entire book is parables. And I feel like that every time you see that red writing where it's Jesus talking, if you look at it in a perspective of knowledge and enlightenment, I think it's false up front. Like it reads like, for instance, I referenced this, I think I told you this before, but like Jesus healing the two blind men. It says he healed their eyes. It's two blind men, but I feel like it's referencing the third eye, the enlightenment. And because there's two people, it says eyes. But it's really just enlightening them, and it says see what others do not. And then they go and tell everybody. It's like, when have you ever seen, like, no, I'm not trying to offend anybody on that aspect, but like, what if they really weren't blind? They were just living in their selfless self, or selfish self.
Well, I think the two are tied, which is what's so cool about the dimensional thing, is that like they impact each other. So like they could have been physically blind, and I believe that he could bring sight. But it could have been it was a spiritual matter. I mean, the way things are connected. I mean, I think I love holistic doctors and functional medicine doctors, people who just like really kind of assess the whole situation. Like, oh, you keep getting nauseous. How's because of whatever. How's your relationship with your mother? Like, have you forgiven her for those? Like, what does that have to do with anything? But it's like,
it does.
Right?
That goes back to like childhood trauma stuff, and things that happen are rooted in your root chakra, in your energies, and that's blocked until you allow it to be released. And like going back to like, as I thought about this earlier, I want to say it before I forget again, but like referencing like Jesus going to the temple, and whenever it's referenced in the Bible, I feel like that it's meaning like meditation. Because what's this called?
Yeah.
Your temple. Like, what if he's in meditation?
Well, Jesus said all the time, he said, know you not that you are the temple of the living God? Like, he was saying it over and over, like, and I don't know why people are to this day still take him so literally every time someone tried to give him a literal question or answer.
He answered
he was always like, no, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. He would like, seriously be like, no, you're still not getting it.
Yeah.
Like over and over. Like he was like, I'm going to destroy this temple. And they were like, what, this one? And he was like, no, this one. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, it was over and over. But I think if more people read it, like,
not, what's the term? Not literally. Literally? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
literal.
What it really is.
Like, yeah. If you say to this mountain, be cast in the sea, it's going to happen. Like if literal be like, okay, I'm going to speak to this mountain, and it's going to come off the ground and go into the sea. Yeah, that's not what he was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but over and over, like that's why he talked in parables, and he, yeah, everyone's blind. They hear not. They see not.
Yeah.
Right. And if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Like, and he said, wait, what? It's like, but he was saying like, no one, if you can see what information is coming to you right now, if you can see that God is talking to you right now because of the information that's coming. You know what I mean? The information that's coming to you is coming directly from the source of all creation, and it's out of love, and it wants to empower you to become all that you can be. He said, I'm the firstborn of many brethren. Like greater things than these shall ye do. It's like, I'm in my Father, Father is in me, and I am in you. What does that mean? The Father's in you too.
Which goes back to the whole one consciousness thing, where it's like we're all one consciousness. which is also, I feel like, connected
Well-
to that.
Well, he is the I am.
Yeah.
Right. He is the I
Which
am.
is like what you were saying earlier, like we all say I am.
Right.
So it's a reflection in a sense.
And that's the name whenever Moses was like, who are you? He said, oh,
I am.
I am that I am. The I am that you're experiencing, I am that.
Yeah.
I'm that. Anyway.
Yeah, so what'd you have for breakfast?
I should have had more. Oh, we had,
we had the-
breakfast burrito. Was it good? I'm a breakfast burrito guy.
It's funny though, because we were like, are we going to get into it? Are we
Yeah.
gonna get-
Well, man, this was fun. I think, we could probably go on for a long time, but I mean,
100%.
this is the way it always goes. But
But if you had to go back to any age and tell yourself some advice, what would it be?
okay, yeah, I've got it. I was probably 20, maybe 21, 21. It was the part where I was on this crazy trajectory of spiritual things, and I was like, oh, I guess this is because things were happening. It's really far out stuff, and I was on my way to go start a church, help a guy start a church in the West Village in New York, and I stopped through Nashville for I was going to be a week, but I stayed for a while because I was like, oh, this is cool, and I had this run-in with this girl, and I fell to temptation or whatever, right? In my head, like this was like the worst thing in the world, and I was so
You say you felt or failed to temptation?
fell.
Okay.
What did I say? I fell into
Oh, fell into.
Yeah.
Okay.
temptation. Well, it was more than temptation.
Okay.
We. I was like, should I say this? How should I say it? Anyway,
You said it.
yeah, but we. But it was weird, because like I allowed it, because I was a young crazy dude at points in my life, but like for whatever reason in this situation, like so much like guilt and shame and like anger. I was more angry than really guilty or feeling guilty. Really, I was angry like at God and the whole thing. And then it sort of spun, and I sort of rode that frequency, that radio station, all the way down, man. And I was like sort of on like a beeline to just like be a douche. You know what I mean? Like a bad dude. You know what I mean? It was the craziest thing. And then, things happened, and God, had mercy on my soul and sent Katie in there to sort of like rescue me out of my demise and really. But that moment, just be like, hey,
It's okay.
yeah, totally good. Like, and I knew this. The fastest way to like beat any of that is just to go, like, I'm forgiven. Okay, that was dumb.
Let it go.
Let it go, and just let it go. Oh, and forgive yourself. It's really the self forgiveness that I've had the hardest problem with. I mean, I can forgive others. Sometimes I hold stuff, but for a while, but I try to let it go. But really forgiving myself.
Because you were conscious when you made decisions. in a
Yeah,
sense?
and I think too, when you carry that like you were talking about that positive thing, and it feels like you're an ambassador for God, and people are attracted to that. So it felt like I almost abused the situation. Like I was like, oh man, like she was attracted to me because like God, and then I made a bad decision here with her.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to give him a bad rap. So like I'm not gonna have anything to do with him. And I don't want people to think that I am part of his crew at all, because I don't want to give him a bad rap. This kind of thing. Strangest thing. So I would just go back there and say, hey, see this for what it is. Stand right back up. Don't go to, just like wake up. It's okay. Forgive, forget, move on. This was a perfect opportunity to just like, put your faith into action, forgiveness. You believe in all this. This is good. Go for it. Something. I would just motivate myself in some way to say, keep going. But at the same time, we can only sometimes go as high as we go low.
Yeah.
People say. So it's like, if that's what it's going to take to go where God is looking like He's wanting to lead me and lead us in our family, then I'm like, okay, whatever path is His path. He knows, and I'm open to allowing Him to do that.
It's a powerful answer.
Thanks, man. You're a powerful guy.
So are you.
All right.
Well, I think that's pretty solid
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, we could literally keep going for a long time, but
Yeah.
Do you want to like address the people with where they can find you? Do you want your information out there?
No, thankfully let me see. No. Well, okay. You know what? I tell you what. I'm gonna do this. The same question you asked me, what would I say to myself? I'm just gonna say to somebody. If you've recently done something really stupid, and you're having a hard time forgiving yourself, go ahead and forgive yourself. Don't think about it. It doesn't need to make sense. You don't need to like come up with a reason for it, a solution. You don't have to figure it out or have your. It doesn't need to make sense. Just put it away. Put it away. Realize that the faster you get back on the right track, the more positivity and power and beauty you can bring into the world. You could do far more good if you just switch right now. Just switch right now. Than you could even imagine. We're going through it, knowing that we're all weak, and because you're not going to judge others. And losing that judgmental stuff as fast as possible is a straight shot to like being beneficial here on the planet.
Hey, never forget that you are worthwhile. Strive to be the best version of yourself you can, and know that it's always going to be okay, but you have to make that choice.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Worthwhile Spotlight. Our goal is to motivate people to become the best version of themselves possible through the power of storytelling. Our stories are written by the things that we experienced growing up, and these experiences, negative and positive, shape who we are and what we stand for. The beautiful thing about your story is that you get to decide how it's told. So as a diamond in the rough of life, hang tight and let your light shine bright.